definitely.
Did you find that Watchmen was before its time? Like, do you think it would have done better if it came out, let's say, maybe like more like 5-10 years ago tops? You know what I mean?
It's possible, I suppose. It definitely couldn't come out now because I feel like people just want goofy stuff now. It seems like Watchmen's way too serious for now for current times. But I think it was the appropriate time. I think that it's just one of those movies again that people are just going to have to learn to appreciate over time. Like I think it was kind of like my situation. It was like at first I didn't quite get it, but the more I was like, maybe there is something with this movie, and I kept watching it, and I think it's just one of those movies you have to absorb over time. It's not a one sitting thing. Right? You know what I'm saying?
See, I find that's actually a lot with Zack Snyder's stuff in general.
Yes, it is. It is. Absolutely.
Like, my appreciation grows for his films the more I watch them. When I get those repeat viewings in, and then I start to go deep, it's like, wow, there's so much lore here. Yeah. There's so much that you could catch on repeat viewings that you didn't necessarily catch the first time or the second time or the third time. For me, that was BVS. You know, at first, I'll be on, and I've been honest with our audience about this. I wasn't the biggest BVS fan at first, but the more I continued to watch it, it's just like the more I appreciated it, the more I found more and more to it. So I find that's a theme with Zack Snyder, and I find his films, in my opinion, age like wine. They just get better as time goes on.
Well, I think Zack very clearly cares about what he's doing. I know a lot of people say he's just like this edgelord guy who just does things to get a rise out of people. I don't believe that about him at all. I think he genuinely cares about every project that whether I like it or not, he genuinely cares about, you know, Rebel Moon and all these things, like, you know, and I see that, and I want him to succeed. Like, it's not just because I didn't like the movie, I'm not like wishing for it to fail or anything. Like, I'm glad it succeeds, but like, because I know Zack puts the time into it, he puts the effort into it. That's what I want from a filmmaker, you know what I mean? A storyteller. Like, I see way too many movies where it's like, this feels like it was thrown together in a weekend. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like that. And I never get that impression with Zack. Like, never. Like, the visuals alone almost always look like they're straight out of a book. Like, like just a beautiful visuals. That's the one thing that he will thrive at in every single movie.
He's an amazing visual storyteller.
You can say what you want to say to him about his stories and stuff, or whatever, his dialogue, any of that stuff. You can't take anything away from him visually, and anyone who does is full of it. Like,
that's the argument, I've always had. Of course, he's a visual storyteller. Number one, the man is an artist,
right?
Dude, the camera came second. Homie went to school for art. He went to school for the brush.
You could tell.
That was his deal. Exactly. Yeah. So he was telling a story about how, and then suddenly I saw all of these guys, making movies and direct. And he said, suddenly I just got this feeling like, wow, you know, I would like to direct a movie. I would like to throw my passion into that. And he did. So so of course, you know, he's and what I try to remind people of is believe it or not, dialogue is important. Dialogue to me is what they call an anchor to whatever the next action sequence or plot device that's going to come up, so that it anchors them together. Basically, you know what their intentions are, you know what they're about to do, you're going to see it in the next scene. It anchors everything together. But remember, cinema started off when the aspect of cinema started off visually. So if you can, he is.
That's what I was saying. Is the silent era.
So he's excellent when it comes to that visual medium of telling a story. He can shoot a movie without any dialogue whatsoever, and you would know what's going on.
He could.
You understand what I'm saying? What's his name? Denis Villeneuve. 2049. He said the same thing. He was like, I can shoot him. I'd love to shoot a movie with no dialogue. And I'm interested to find out exactly how that would turn out. So I mean,
like, I don't think there's another director out there who could actually bring a comic panel to the screen like the way Zack does. Like, I could open up my Dark Knight. I'm sorry, I can open up my Dark Knight, my Absolute Dark Knight book, right? And I could find you panels and take Zack's BVS, and I could match it up for you perfectly.
Absolutely.
And it's 100%. And I don't think there's ever been a director to take that almost one-to-one adaptation of the comic panel and bring it to the screen like that.
And and that's exactly why I never understood the argument that he doesn't like the material or he doesn't understand the material. I'm like, to me, he understands it almost better than anyone. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's very strange. Like, even if I have issues with some of his movies, the issues that people bring up about his DC movies never made sense to me. And it was like, again, it was one of the reasons that pushed me to start my own channel, because I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, where are you getting this from? Is this like something you're just kind of pulling out of thin air because you want to hate this guy or what? Like, I've heard so many things about him where he's like, where they say these things about him, and I'm just like, it feels like they're just pulling things out of thin air. And it's like, like when I watch BVS, I'll admit at first I didn't say I didn't like it, but I was kind of like not sure about it, I guess I would say. But the more I watched it, the more I ended up liking it. And then the extended cut came out and I really liked it. So it was like, but like I'm watching that movie, and then I remember this very vividly too. I saved this story for when I came on here because I knew you guys would appreciate it. But I remember this very vividly. I remember the day before BVS came out, I was standing at work talking to someone else about it. We were both very, excited for it or whatever. We were on our phones and we were looking up, and we saw these news stories, and it said BVS is a game changer. Like BVS is like all these news stories were like hyping up BVS. People had already seen it. They were reacting to it positively. It was like, so we're like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. Like, you know what I'm saying? So almost, I would say not even a week after the movie came out, suddenly the narrative like completely switched, like out of nowhere. It was like, I guess a few people had some gripes with it, and then the media was like, oh, let's just run with that instead. I don't really know what happened, but like the narrative almost could. I wish I could find those articles because I swear to you they existed.
Almost like on a dime.
Yeah,
on a dime,
like
bro. I was
on
like,
a dime. I was like, how did this happen? Like, did I miss something? Like, because this was the time at the height of the MCU, if you remember.
Yeah.
And I was already checked out of the MCU by then. I was looking for alternatives already by that point. So so I looked at Zack Snyder as a healthy alternative to what I was getting in the MCU. But for whatever reason, people were bashing Zack Snyder stuff for the things that I didn't like about the MCU at the time. It was like not being faithful to the comics. This kind of, like, you know what I'm saying? So it was like
almost like a deliberate narrative was making its way through the media.
It was like a hit job. It really did. It was like all these hit pieces started to come out, and I was like, it really rubbed me the wrong way, because I was like, I don't understand where any of this is coming from. Like, I was genuinely confused by it, like baffled, like how the narrative switched almost overnight. And that was the one thing that was another one of those things that just kind of made me start looking into things a little bit more for myself, and like getting past all the noise. You know what I'm saying? Ignoring the noise and kind of like watching these movies for myself, because to this day, I just watched BVS probably a couple weeks ago. To this day, I still don't understand half the criticism that movie get. I don't. And you know me, I'm highly critical. Like I'm highly critical of movies. That's what I do for a living in this space.
It's almost like, look, bro.
I'm not even saying it's perfect, but I don't understand where the criticisms come from. I don't. I really don't.
Superman, for the first time as a character, is having the world built around his ideals, versus his ideals shining throughout the world. We're gonna take the world and say, okay, you're about truth, justice, the American way. You help old ladies cross the street. You save cats from trees. You do all of this stuff.
Right.
I'm gonna drop those character traits in the middle of this world that is a complete nightmare, and see how you fare.
Exactly.
That's literally all the man did.
Yeah.
Let's take him out of the same old saving cats from trees, up and away. Good to see you, Lois, and the hands on the hips, and just give me a story that revolves around his powers, his struggles as a human being. I want to see that. I want him out of that two-dimensional box that they like to keep those character traits in. Let those things be tested. Otherwise, it's not storytelling to me. It's just not.
Yeah. No,
How many ways can you tell the same Lois and Superman and Goofy Superman and Daily Planet and Otis, and how many times can you tell that story?
Yeah.
Honestly.
That was what Zach and Nolan and all these people set out to do. Like, they wanted to do just exactly what you talked about. Like, give Superman the flaws that we've never really seen him have on screen before. More emotional flaws, because he's indestructible, right? He's indestructible. You know, that's always been the knock against him. Like, how do you get invested in a character that's basically indestructible and you can't be hurt, right? So they took that concept and were like, all right, well, we'll approach it in this way, on a more emotional level, on a more philosophical level. And people just didn't get it. That's really all it was. Like, people were just like, oh, he's just dark and moody. Like, they tried to turn Superman into Batman. I'm like, no, that's not what's going on. That's not even.
It wasn't even close. Not even close.
Like, this isn't edgy. This is making you actually think. And I think some people don't want to think when they watch movies sometimes. They just want to. And I get it. There's movies where you just want to.
You want to just turn your brain off.
There are those movies, because like I was telling Ross when we were talking backstage about it again. I'm not when it comes to buffoonery, the genre of the comedy genre. It's on the bottom of rung of my list of movies that I like. But I do like buffoonery. I like the films that know they're buffoonery. They're stupid as hell. We're gonna write this stupid shit, a la Scary Movie.
We were just talking.
I love that movie, dude, because it's so stupid, and you're like, of course it's this. Yeah, that's why it's funny as hell. Yeah, but and they don't understand that type of buffoonery is a little bit different when you're trying to turn an entire IP that was designed to set itself apart from Marvel. It's in the name. Think about it. Detective Comics.
Yes.
To me, that says investigations, murder, crime, all kind of serious shit, right?
Detecting shit. You got
detecting shit. And then you got Marvel.
Marvelous. You know what I mean?
There you go. It's in the name.
Fantastic.
Literally. Why are you trying to change DC into Marvel?
Yes, completely two different entities. And I don't understand how people don't understand that, because it's like, even growing up as a kid, I noticed the vast difference between DC and I love them both. Like, don't get me wrong, like, but they're not the same entity at all. They should not be treated the same way. I wouldn't say it's even a completely different audience, because I do think the audiences cross over, but like, I think when you're going into a DC film as opposed to when you're going into a Marvel film, you should be looking for two different things. It should not feel like a carbon copy of the other.
Yes.
Like, and that's the problem that we could potentially have with the new DCU, is that it feels like that's what they want to do. Now, we don't know that for sure until we actually see something of substance, which we haven't yet. But like, that's what it kind of feels like, because it's like, what else would WB do? They tried it the way that we preferred it, got cold feet, and decided to go in a different direction. Then they didn't like that direction either, decided to go in another direction. So what's the natural progression of things tell you? They just brought him in and they were like, hey, James Gunn, can you do a little bit of what you did with Marvel over here and give us some of that success? And it's not even a knock against James Gunn necessarily. It's just they're bringing him over to do what he does. Like, you know, that's what
exactly.
It kind of
feels there's nothing extraordinary about him. There's nothing over the top about. He's just a movie director. Right. That's it. He is just a movie director who knows how to do buffoonery and
he knows how to follow the corporate formula that they want. That's exactly what it is.
Right there. That's exactly why he is in that seat. But I'm like, it's Detective Comics, man. I mean, what guys? I mean, I can almost see your argument about Superman and not changing the core identity of Superman, but you're not really doing that if you're not changing those things. In other words, you're not changing Superman from hopeful to despair. Man of Steel was just a guy. He was a kid growing up like a human being. You have to see through those eyes. You're a kid that gets bullied at school. You're a kid that goes through that shit. When he was going through puberty, his powers came through his puberty.
Yes.
Okay. That's the type of stuff that I want to see. I don't want to. I've seen, bro.
We've seen it the other way. Yes, we've seen it the other way,
man. It just.
It's just people. There are a lot of traditionalists, I think, in the and I get it. Like, I get upset sometimes when things aren't comic book accurate. Like I get it, I totally understand that.
But see, that's what I think the issue is with, like, and I think you're hitting it right on the head. Is that like, especially when it comes to Zack Snyder, it's if you're going to criticize BVS or if you're going to criticize anything that he did with DC, it's like you have to take it and you have to actually criticize with merit. You can't just criticize and say, "Oh, I don't like this because it was Zack Snyder." There are things about BVS and ZSJL that I don't like, that I can criticize, but it's valid criticism. You know what I mean? Like, and I've said it before. One of the things I don't like is I don't like how BVS turned into the Death and Return of Superman.
Yeah,
how I don't like that.
It was a little rushed.
It was, in my opinion, that was rushed. In my opinion, the death of Superman should have been a movie in itself. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And I think the issue that a lot of comic book fans have with that is that they took the route of doing the Death and Return of Superman prior to Justice League.
Yeah.
Where in the comics, you already have an established Justice League around Superman when he dies.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's a valid criticism. You guys want to talk about a valid criticism? There you go. In my opinion, what they could have done, is they could have waited till after the Justice League was established to bring in Doomsday and to kill off Superman. You know what I mean? That could have been the whole Justice League 2 story, and then you could have done that again. A valid criticism.
Zach didn't want to do that. That was them.
I know, and it was WB. I totally understand that. I get it 100%. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to
losing, catch up with Marvel.
But you know what? I'm just saying, like, if you're going to criticize, let's actually criticize. Let's not just say I don't like this director. He's a hack, and that's that. You know what I mean? Come at it with points.
I think, considering under the circumstances he was in, where he was forced to do things that he didn't necessarily want to do at that time, I think that even speaks more to his abilities as a director
to adapt.
Yeah, to be able to adapt to that, because we all know how difficult it is to work for WB. I mean. There's a reason why Christopher Nolan and these people don't want to deal with them no more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's because they're not very director friendly. Yeah,
it's like gun fans especially are not paying. I'm like, guys, read the writing on the wall. $9.60 for stocks.
Right.
Right. $9. That shows you what your worth is, bro. Yes. Look at that number. $9.60. That shows you that the investors don't trust you.
Yep.
And you're all over this new DC universe like it's going to be the savior. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Listen, I've been wrong before. Maybe Superman will strike a chord with people and people will go see it and it'll be a big hit. I don't know. None of us really know, to be honest with you. All I do know is I've been covering movies a lot, obviously, for the past few years. And almost every time there seems to be like this online manufactured hype. It almost never translates to real life.
Yep.
Almost always.
Almost.
Like, I could give you countless movies where it's been like, oh, this movie's going to be this mega hit. It's got all these, these people behind it. I could give you
5 or 6.
Yeah, right.
In the last few years.
And then it comes out and nobody watches it. So it's like, I just find it very hard to believe that we can measure anything based on social media, first of all, because I just don't think that that's as representative of real life as people think it is.
No. And you know, it's funny because we've highlighted that exact point on this show before. Yeah. People seem to think that the view count, that if because a YouTube video or a trailer got so many views, that's going to translate in the theaters. And we ran the numbers on, one of the things we did on one of our last episodes is we took the Superman trailer from as many sources as we could find. So like YouTube, Guns Page, WB, blah, 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 right? We took all of those numbers. And then we took the actual numbers of the people who actually took the time to click like, because the way we look at it is if you're actually going to take the time to like this video, that tells us you're invested in this and you're actually going to go see this movie. When we did the views to engagement ratio, it was like 2%, bro. Mm-hmm. It was like 2% of the audience that watched they keep bragging about the millions and millions of views they got. 2% of that audience actually engaged and clicked like on that video.
Wow. Yeah, that's not good. It doesn't sound good.
No.
It doesn't sound good. Not as good as they want to portray it. I mean, it's just it's crazy to me because I always go back to Avatar because that's my go-to example every time anybody brings this up, because if you look at the view counts on Avatar trailers, they ain't even a fraction of what Superman did.
Yeah.
And those movies almost always go on to make $2 billion.
Yes.
So what you can deduce from that is that all the people on social media who came to me, I remember this vividly too, prior to Avatar 2 coming out, you don't know how many people told me Avatar has no cultural relevance. Who's going to watch this movie? Nobody cares. That's all I got from people.
Dude, I was one of those people. I thought like that too. I'll own it, bro. Because Avatar wasn't my thing. I didn't understand it, right? I'm just like, who the hell's going to go see this? $2 billion later.
$2 billion. Like, first of all, James Cameron's a machine. Second of all, like, it's very, very, you could draw a lot of conclusions to the fact that movies like that strike a chord with the general audience when people on social media tell you that they mean nothing. And it goes the other way around too. Like, the general audience is way different than social media. And I think we have a lot of examples.
Yes.
I think we have a lot of examples of that. Now, I'm not saying that Superman won't strike a chord with the general audience, because I don't really know. I mean, he is a popular character. And maybe people, I don't get the feeling in my everyday life though that people are clamoring for a Superman movie right now. That's just the feeling I get.
Charles, go back to that last comment. I want to ask you, what do you think about that, Joe? Would you take a Dark Knight Returns movie with Ben Affleck and Chris Terrio and
absolutely?
Is that something that you would be interested in?
Absolutely. I've said this for a while that, like, Zach has pretty much moved on, so I say let him move on, do what he wants to do, whatever. But if he ever were to come back into the fold, I really only need, I'd say, 4 movies from his universe, and just as a kind of send off, finish the story and move on. One would be a Ben Affleck Batman movie, possibly Dark Knight Returns. That could work. One would be Man of Steel 2, and then Justice League 2 and 3. Like, those 4 movies is all you really need as far as I'm concerned.
See, for me, there were so many elements of the Dark Knight Returns that he already borrowed and used in BVS. I'm really curious how he would pull it off.
He did. It would feel like a bit of a rehash. He would probably have to retool some things and rework some things and, put his own spin on it, I guess, because he did. It was very clearly influenced by that. So maybe a Dark Knight Returns wouldn't be the best option. I would just want to see whatever it is that Affleck and
what they could cook up. Yeah,
honestly,
exactly.
They had something cooking and it just didn't materialize for whatever reason. But like, I would honestly, because Affleck's a great filmmaker too. Like,
he's a great Batman. In
Batman.
my opinion, he is the best Batman. He's the
best comic
Batman.
book accurate Batman ever. I don't care who your favorite. You like your favorites. You like your favorites. But let me tell you something. When this Affleck dude came out and I found out, after seeing Armageddon and all that other stuff, his work, I was like, nah, baby girl. I don't. If it's gonna be like Reindeer Games like he was in with Charlize Theron, I'm not even trying to hear all that.
Yeah,
homie pulled off that Bruce Wayne Batman persona.
Why did we have an issue with Reindeer Games, bro? I mean, I love that scene with Charlize. That was an awesome movie. I watched that every freaking Christmas, bro.
Wake up and brush your teeth to it, huh?
I mean, listen, I remember being upset when Affleck was announced as Batman. I was like, what?
I do too.
Like,
I was
why?
like, what?
Like, didn't he already fail at Daredevil? Why are we giving him Batman? Like, that was my initial thought. But of course, I ended up being wrong. And that's another thing too. It's like, and we did the same thing with Heath Ledger as Joker, right? It's like, my initial gut reaction is, why that guy? But when you have someone like Nolan or even Zack Snyder or whoever, a visionary filmmaker who has a vision of their own and they have their own interpretation of the character, in most instances, it's a good idea to trust them. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we were all wrong about Heath Ledger. We were all wrong about Ben Affleck. And I could go through other examples of that as well. Now, I know we make a lot of noise sometimes about the current DCU and some of their casting decisions, but to me, it's a very different situation because it feels like those casting decisions are being made based on Twitter polls or whatever.
Yes.
So it's like,
especially today.
Is it really about the vision, or are you just desperately seeking validation from online, from people on social media, X or Instagram or whatever?
100%.
And that's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like there's a vision attached. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like when Sam Raimi made Spider-Man. He took certain liberties with that movie. Like, it's not exactly 100% comic accurate to Spider-Man, but you know what? it's a really really
great
good movie.
Yes.
So it's like
yeah,
like you know what I'm saying? It's like you have to let directors give a fresh interpretation of these characters. I think that's
and speaking of Spider-Man, this is what I didn't like about Raimi's Spider-Man. All three of them. It had one thing that was the same throughout the entire movie.
Is it Mary Jane?
Him and Mary Jane.
I agree, bro. I totally get it. I get it.
Not a big fan of Kirsten Dunst. No.
Breaking up, get back together. Breaking up.
She was the damsel in distress in all three movies.
Oh, totally. That's all she was.
I was just like, yeah. I didn't.
But real quick, guys, before we jump topics here, I did see that we didn't get a chance to highlight this, but we got another super chat from Demi Ray Era. Charles, did you see that one? It's here. She threw us $9.99, so I want to highlight her comment.
Oh, Rhea, yes, thank you so much. Let me find that comment. Hold up. Dude. See, this is why I wish you had control.
It's all good. Next time, bro. Next time, we're gonna fix this. We're gonna fix this.
Control of
okay, so there. Okay, hold up. So there was. Hold up. I just saw Costello's because hers was after Phil, right?
Yeah.
All right, hold up.
It's near the bottom.
So that's Phil's.
So Hold My DualShock posted above her, and then Devoclin posted below her.
Why don't they have a tab just for
that? They have. Charles, do you see the starred tab?
I
you see how it says live and then it says starred? If you click on the star.
Okay, there's Hold My DualShock right there.
And then he said, "Hey," at Osafresh. He was shouting
at
Osafresh. Yeah, and then right below it. There you go.
All right, here she go. All right, this is Damie Ray. Thank you so much for the $9 super chat. It says, "I've said this countless times. Zach Nolan Burton brought this brand to new heights. Gunn will set DC back for decades. Gunn isn't good for the brand at all. At all." Well, and that's the argument that I want to get into right quick. But I'm gonna go ahead and give her a drop right quick. And thank you so much again, Red, for that that $9.99 super chat.
Yes, thank you so much.
Just a second, I'm gonna find her a drop. Give me a moment. I'm gonna give her a funny one. Here we go.
This is Last Horseman. Who is this?
This is Flaming Dragon.
Oh, okay, Flaming Dragon. Fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face! Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here, but Asia Jack is my territory. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly fucking firestorm upon you. You're gonna have to call the fucking United Nations and get a fucking binding resolution to keep me from fucking destroying you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker! I will massacre you! I will fuck you up!
You know, the first time I saw that, I didn't even know that was Tom Cruise.
I didn't know to the credits. The credits rolled. Yeah, that's what. Same. Yeah, I never put it together. I remember seeing that movie in the theater. I laughed my ass off the entire time.
Yeah.
It's such an iconic
bro.
Movie. They don't make them like that
anymore.
We had this exact conversation because I was telling Charles, last night I got to bed late, but I had to watch something. I need to unwind. You know what I mean? So I was scrolling through Netflix and I saw Scary Movie 2 and I threw on Scary Movie 2 and I'm laughing my ass off and I'm just like, man, they do not make comedies like this anymore.
Comedy is like a dead genre, and it's kind of sad. And I think it has a lot to do with how PC people tend to be these days. It's like you can't really have fun anymore. But like that last era with like Tropic Thunder, even the first Hangover, I'd say, Super Bad, like around that area, like when they could still be a little on the edgier side without getting all in their feelings, like that was just like prime time right in there. And we just don't get. I don't even remember the last time I reviewed a comedy movie. To be honest with you, I don't think they even come out theatrically anymore. I think they go right to Netflix. Yeah. Like it's kind of sad because I think we could use a little bit of laughter.
I'm really looking forward to Happy Gilmore too. I am really looking forward to that one. So hopefully it lives up to the expectation.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Adam Sandler hasn't been great lately.
It's Happy Gilmore though. Come on.
But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know.
All right. Hey, we got another one here from
Hold My DualShock. Great conversation, you guys.
A $5 super chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Let me get a drop for you as well.
What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?